one thing I feel compelled to say every year, and just to remind everybody, that this is the Canadian Healthcare Marketing Hall of Fame. It's not the Canadian Pharmaceutical Industry Hall of Fame. And I think what we're doing here today, and the next recipient I think also bears testimony, it's Sylvie Pilon. And Sylvie is the head of the CNS business unit at Lundbeck, and responsible for CNS and products in depression. And this is yet another example of what we're doing in marketing and promoting healthcare. Probably the single biggest challenge in dealing with depression is removing the barrier and the social stigma associated with it. It's not about selling product. It's about a lot more than selling product, and that's the impact that we have. So it's a pleasure to announce that Sylvie Pilon from Lundbeck, head of the CNS business unit, is the next recipient, and presenting to her is Dan Leger.
Are we still on time? Because if people know me, I've never met a microphone I don't love. So if we've got some extra time, no. Seriously, bon après-midi, tout le monde. Dan Leger from Lundbeck, Canada, representing all my peers here from, I guess, one of the Montreal-based companies. It's fairly Toronto today, but that's okay, because we'll talk hockey after the ceremony's over. I wanted to take a moment to, express my absolute pleasure in being able to introduce my boss, Sylvie Pilon. And so I do expect a robust applause when I'm finished, because my year-end review is coming up shortly. All kidding aside, I just bumped into Carlo Viola as I was walking up here. I've actually realized I've been in this industry a long time now, no offense, Carlo. But I actually first met Sylvie in 1998, when I was but a wee greenhorn in this industry. I actually come from the world of journalism. I don't have a BSc. I worked for the Canadian Press here in Toronto, though born and raised in Montreal, and it was the pharmaceutical industry that brought me back to Montreal. And I was working for STA at the time, and we were conducting a CHE in the area of oncology. And I met this woman by the name of Sylvie Pilon. And I don't know how many suppliers are in this room. I know there's some. But if you've grown up on the supplier side of this business, you know there are some good days and there are some bad days. Because unfortunately, for every good client out there, there can be some very difficult ones. And I see some nodding over there. So I've been fortunate enough in my career that I finally made it to the client side of the business. But in those early days back in 1998, I was trying to cut my teeth in this industry. And Sylvie at the time was a district sales manager, area sales manager with Amgen, and the product was Neupogen. Cancer treatment, and I think it was a lung cancer project that we were working on. And Sylvie was one of those clients that you were ready to run through a wall for. And why was that? It was because of her fairness, her tenacity today, and her overall intelligence and the way that she dealt with you as an individual. We were all individuals, we were all partnering together, and it was the level of human respect that she had for me was the day that I developed a huge amount of respect for her, and also it taught me what being a good leader in this industry is all about. So Sylvie spent many years at Amgen, but then moved on to Novartis, where she worked both in sales, marketing, and scientific affairs, which is a sort of an interesting path. And she eventually, our paths crossed again in 2011 when I was sitting on the management team of Lundbeck, and we were starting up a new oncology division at Lundbeck, because as you heard, Lundbeck is very much a mental health focused company. 1 in 5 Canadians are impacted by mental health issues in Canada, but we all know the toll of oncology as well, and Lundbeck was branching into that area. And lo and behold, at the time, Patrick, who couldn't be here today, introduced us to the new business unit leader for oncology, and in walked through the door Sylvie. And I can tell you that the product Treanda, which we brought into Canada, was a huge success, becoming a market leader and changing chemotherapy in both CLL and NHL. And that was through Sylvie's leadership that Lundbeck was able not only to enter into the oncology market successfully, but impact the lives of thousands of Canadians living with non-Hodgkin lymphoma and CLL. That business unit has been a tremendous success for Lundbeck, and Sylvie is definitely the reason for that success. So just recently, Sylvie has taken over the leadership of the CNS business unit at Lundbeck Canada. And it's with her leadership, the leadership that I first saw in 1998, that our organization continues to head in the right direction and make a huge impact in the lives of Canadians living with mental disorders. And so it's with that that I am thrilled to introduce a very deserving candidate for induction into the Canadian Healthcare Marketing Hall of Fame, Sylvie Pilon.
Well, some of you may or may not know this, but Dan is also an inductee. So I have the privilege of working with Dan, and thank you, Dan, for those kind words. I enjoy working with you, and my team that's over there is supporting me, and it's been great. So it is with humility that I am in front of you today. I am humbled to be in the company of the fellow inductees and congratulate all of you for your accomplishments. My road to this point has taken many turns, and I consider myself very lucky to have had the opportunity to work with many great companies, starting with Berlex, Amgen, Novartis, and now Lundbeck. Each company and experience were learning opportunities that I enjoyed and relished, but at the core of my value was always the ability to have an impact on the patients' lives. Oncology was a passion for me for many years. I quickly learned that I needed to be a partner with many of our stakeholders, and we talked a lot about that today, and provide insight to them on how best to use our important medication and also how best to treat their patients. Through my varied experience and growing responsibility, I was given the opportunity to instill passion and vision in the groups that I have led. I am proud to say that I have led teams to some glorious success, but not without a lot of grit. So what is grit? It is our ability to move beyond the no and not settling. Having the courage to take up difficult causes and make things happen. It is how we care to challenge the status quo, because we can and because we must. I am now leading the mental health business unit at Lundbeck, and I'm so very proud of everything that we do at our company. We do challenge the status quo and instill this in all of our employees. I thought cancer was difficult until I worked in mental health and witnessed firsthand the impact that these diseases have on all our lives. 1 in 4 Canadian is impacted by mental health, and 1 in 5 will personally be impacted in their lifetime. My son, who has just started his career as a rep with Bayer via Impress Pharma, read me his letter of intent for his MBA application last week. I was very touched by his comments, as he underlined the impact that I had on his life, how I have instilled in him a work ethic and a desire to have an impact and to help patients through his newfound career. Now, on that note, I want to thank my 2 sons, my husband for being so patient with a busy career mom and wife. They supported me through thick and thin, and I would not have been here today without their support and their love. I also have to thank the many people who believed in me, who coached me and mentored me along the way to become a better person and a better pharmaceutical executive. It's been a journey paved with a lot of great people who have reported to me, been on my team, and have molded and shaped me into the professional person that I am today. The journey continues, and I'm sure will bring many new exciting challenges and reward. All of this to say that I am very proud to have made a career in our pharmaceutical industry, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for this important recognition. Thank you.